Okay, I'm back for a special Saturday edition of this. I always say I'm going to work on Saturday, but I never do. But today I am. So a lot has happened since I was on here last time. If you watched before, you saw how I put the skin on the fur on to Sammy and started shaving him down, and it looked pretty good by the time I got off of the live stream last night. And of course, I couldn't leave well enough alone, so I went in last night at about 11 o'clock and thought, oh, I could smooth that out. I had wasn't glued down, and it sucked it right in and put a big old bald spot right in the middle of his head. I ended up cutting it away. You can kind of see here. Took it down right to the fabric, to the backing. And so anyway, I freaked out and cut off the piece that was bald, and thought, well, I can graft another piece of fur into there and kind of fix it up. And I thought, oh, that's a terrible way to do it. So I redid everything last night, and so he's looking pretty good now. He's looking like himself. I'm not going to do too much work on him trimming wise, at least until I get all the features on. But I can add on things like his bags under his eyes and his eyebrows. And I think I'm going to figure out his ears today. And maybe his nose, although I think I need to dye a little bit of fleece, that kind of pinkish color. Although I do have some skin stuff that is about his color. So I will have that if I get to it. But if you look at the original puppet, I'm relying less and less on this as a guide, but the nose fleece is a little bit pinker than the ear fleece. So it's just the way I've always drawn it. I think even on here you can see his nose is kind of pink. His ears are kind of golden. So anyway, we shall see. So I think what I'm going to do first is going to throw this away. Actually, I may be able to get the ears off of that, so I'll keep that. I'm going to start trying to figure out the shape of these ears. So let's get started. Let me figure out a way to put him up here that makes sense. I may also put a brain in him today. Which ironically would make him have the only maybe the way to do this is to attach this to the table, but I have to move the camera. Okay. Over here. Who knew this video would be this interesting? All right, so let me get to. I don't feel like the ears I currently have are big enough. And I may make them out of foss shape because they should be a little thinner and stiffer than I usually do it. All right, so these are the ones I have now. A good place to start. Actually, you know what would be a good place to start? Are the original ears that I had. Oh, did I save them or did I throw them out? I think I threw them out. Oh, no. Okay. So I'm gonna start with these big honking things and work my way down. I may do a combination of like a little bit of foam and a little bit of Fosche. Because I'd like this area here to be a little thicker than the rest. It's a little big. It's a lot big. It's like a gremlin. Okay, let me reassess that. That looks about right to me. Yeah, we're going to try that. We're going to try that. Okay. So here's my plan for this. I got a new package of Fosche. I could probably use felt too, like a real thick felt. What do I do with my brown pen? It's funny, I'll grab a pen and be like, pull it out and it's blue. And that's pink. And that's great. I should get a little light over here that is just shining down on the, oh, there it is on the ground. On the pen so I can see what color they are. Okay. I'm just going to make one of these right now And if it turns out to be the right shape, I at least have a pattern. This stuff is so thick, I was worried that I maybe could cut 2 pieces. So in putting that on there, you can kind of see how I'm going to put it on like kind of a curve. And rather than making a buck to do it, I remembered I had this. Oops, crap. Oh, there goes the soda. Just a second. You got to clean that up. It's not bad. Didn't get anything that was particularly useful. Just a bunch of old, whatchamacallit, garage floor mats and stuff that I have pretty peaked over here. Okay. So exciting. What an exciting life. Okay. So I remembered I had this tube, this mailing tube, that was about the same curvature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to pin it on. I think I can pin into it. Maybe not. I do have I do have a not a pool noodle, like an exercise mat. That worked pretty well. Okay, let me get the water. The steamer. I have no idea if I'm doing this. I'm doing it the opposite one, so I'll put on the other arm. The other side of the head. Nice thing about diet soda is that it doesn't get sticky. Okay. Maybe should do both of them just in case. Just so they'll have the same curve. Yeah, let me do that. I'm amazed at how fast that steamer can get the water to boiling. Those on there. Roughly the same way. But you can see all that steam. All right. Here goes nothing. I think I need more pins. This is curling out more than I thought it would. I think that's probably pretty close. Not that anybody's watching. Oops. All right, let me get rid of this hot water. Okay. So these held their shape pretty well, which is great. Okay, so I think that might be a good basis for his ears. Like so. And I do think I'm going to take a piece of L200 and make a little ridge along this side here. And cover that just to give him a little bit of thickness up at the top. So let me make a pattern for that. And this will all be inside of fur and fleece and everything else to make these ears. Is that you, Tilly? I'm gonna go on there like that. Okay. Here's my brown pen. I'm probably gonna have to make him new teeth too. So he doesn't have teeth like Bugs Bunny, but they do push out a little bit farther than what I have them on in there. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna cut those out on the bandsaw. Oh, maybe not. Let me get another piece of it. Might be a little too tight. Yeah, okay. I guess I got them out by hand. I just worried about it being too close to the edge here and getting all caught up in the saw for my fingers. Even worse. Here's one. Oh, hey Ethan, how's it going? Working on an EV ohm head right now too. Recently bought some barge thinner to keep my glue up usable. Yeah, I just bought some as well. I never bought it before, so and after all that fur, I probably need to buy some more barge too. But it's interesting stuff. L200. I can usually pattern with those garage floor mats because it's similar in it behaves about the same as L200 does. Okay, so I'm going to take my rasp over the trash can. I'm going to basically just go like that and shape it real quick. It's like using a cheese grater on it. Okay, so to start, this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. It's got like a curve to it. I'm gonna continue to shape it a little bit. Okay, do it all again, and then I'm gonna probably hit it with some sandpaper as well. So what made you decide to do EVA foam for your head? Is it just kind of what it needed to be? Or are you putting a mech in or something that needs for it to be a little more substantial? It's like saber-toothed tiger teeth. This is for Sammy's. This is for Sammy's one-man show, Pumbaa. This is how I made the teeth, too. So I kind of shaped it and then did it with the sandpaper to kind of smooth everything out. Okay. More or less the same. No, they're absolutely different. They don't have to be exact, but it'd be nice if they were at least similar. Okay, so my plan is take this and graft that on to there with a little contact cement to give it that kind of ear shape. And his ears will kind of look like that. So, anyway, let me put my respirator on. Make sure I have a left and a right ear. I don't know how I ended up with the next one of those. That's not that. That's not that. How did I lose one of them already? I didn't even get up. What happened to it? Oh, there it is. All right, so there's the two ears. And this whole thing's going to be covered in barge at some point because I'm going to stick down the ear fabric. You might put a wire in there too. I don't know. Haven't decided. Okay. I swear I'm going to get to work in a second. I'll shut that window in a second. Right. Let that dry a little bit. Turn the fan up a little bit. There goes nothing. Well, the good news, it sticks. Okay. Shut that window. Okay. So now when I get those ears on there, I can put them on correctly. I think that works really well from the side. Looks pretty good. We need to go back a little bit. Yeah, I like that. I like it. Okay, great. Okay, let me get some scrap fabric. So unlike usual, that pink's actually pretty close to what I want to use for Sammy's nose. This is old polar fleece. Okay, so I want the fur to roll over this part, and then maybe come back over here. I'm not sure. I never know if this is his lobe or if this is more fur. I've colored it both ways, but I'm gonna choose to think of it as lobe. Okay. So let me think about this. I'm putting a mech in my new head, so I needed to be fairly stiff. Yeah, that's EVA is um, a good choice for that. The different foams work together if you know how to glue them together. I mean, it's like I've used styrofoam in a couple of heads, and you just got to use Gorilla Glue because barge will eat it. So it's pretty flexible. I mean, the different materials are they work well with each other. Let me put it that way. I can go and zoom. I can zoom in on this a little bit. I think this is not quite right. I think it needs to be more like that. mess this up already. I think I need a little bit more. Now it's not fitting at all. I may have to do this all again. Let's see what's going on here. This is where I've always run into problems making these ears. They're a very frustrating shape, and I know what I want, but it's not an easy shape. Okay. So in patterning L200 or EVA, how are you doing it? Are you making a mock-up, or are you just kind of trying to wedge it from scratch or whatever? I guess maybe you could be using a pattern. And that should be pretty close to what I had before. One time I used spray adhesive on polyethylene foam, and it started burning into a gooey mess. Yeah. You always, I've gotten to the point where I know different types of glues that work. Gorilla Glue is a pretty good one that doesn't seem to eat too much, but it also is kind of a bear to work with. The nice thing is that it will bond upholstery foam and whatchamacallit, reticulated foam to styrofoam without burning either one of them. And so if you have to join those two things, that's what you want to use. Okay. Pretty close. There's a little bit of a gap, which I need to take care of. I'll just make a note. Oh, using a pattern. Cool. Okay, so I do need to add about a 1/4 inch there and there. I think otherwise it's going to fit. So let's try it. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I usually use the upholstery foam to pattern, and then you can usually get a lot of, make it work from there. Use it, the other foam, and it'll translate over fine. Heat forming the EVA helps a lot because it wants to come undone if you have too severe of a stress on it. Cool. Are you doing the kind of classic animal type, or are you doing some other type of mech for it? I kind of know that that's where this is going to roll to. The mech is sort of a mix between the one BJ teaches and my own personal design. Oh, cool. Yeah, the principles are pretty good. I mean, it's, you know, what is it? Jim Krupa says a string and a spring and a string, or so I've heard. I haven't actually taken that class either. Okay. Okay. I guess I'll try this out now. I think the ones I put into Ralph are kind of a combination of the one BJ did, and then something I always try to keep the eyes in the iMech kind of self-contained. So if something goes wrong, I can just pull the whole thing out as a unit. And I kind of use that in that too. Although the only way to repair that thing is to completely disassemble it, and you have to run the wire again completely from scratch, or the rod, because there's no way to keep those the shaft of it straight unless you do it completely from scratch. I have no way of machining Delrin, which is what I was going to use, so I'm just using white oak instead, since it actually accepts set screws quite well. Oh, cool. Yeah. Fun fact about Delrin, I designed a mascot for Delrin's internal site, the Delrin Duck, which I don't think is public enough to show, but I'll send you a link to what it looks like if you want to see it. Okay. Let me check Sammy's box real quick and see if I have any old fleece in here that I was going to use. Oh, I do. I have his nose fleece, which is good. It's excellent. All right. I have this fleece. Yeah, which is pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so this is the fleece I'm going to use for his hands and his tail and his ears. So I have enough of it. Looks like it. I'm pretty sure the pink fleece I have for his nose is some old Crank Anchor's fleece. What do people use for for the machining Delrin? Is it like a lathe, or what? How do they do it? I've only used a little bit of it. I thought about asking when I designed that logo to see if they would pay me in Delrin, but I needed the money. I might as well just do both of them. Be a glutton for punishment here. Milling machine, yeah, probably. You can also buy it, like, depending on what you need it, you can buy it pre-turned. Like, you can buy it in pieces that are, a quarter inch or half an inch round. And as far as like the flat things you need, like if you need it for a trigger or something, you can buy it the thickness you need and then cut it out with a skill saw, I believe, or a bandsaw. Yeah, just messed that up. I think I'm going to leave these a little long and then trim. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave that a little bit long and trim it in case I need to. Good news is there's a little bit of stretch to this fleece, so should be good. That's true. I think BJ used wood, didn't he, for his mech class? I've never seen it. I used a couple of the mechs and know kind of the concepts he used. Okay. 1 ear, 2 ears. This pattern. I'm gonna figure out how much fleece I need real quick. Or not fleece, fur. I'm gonna leave this one all along too, just in case. Yes, I use Teflon tubing all the time. It works great. The one thing is you want to use braided fishing line as opposed to regular, more common fishing line, because the common fishing line will eventually rub a hole in the Teflon. You know, rubbing back and forth. The friction kind of cuts a groove. I use Teflon tubing in. What's one of the puppets I've used it in lately? I might have used it on the capybara. Or I think I used it on Max's tail. I use it on Daisy. Daisy uses Teflon tubing. Is that the braided is Dacron the braided stuff, or is that what is that? It took me forever to find the right stuff. BJ had some stuff in the shop, which he gave me about, I don't know, 14 yards of, and then it took me forever to find find the same stuff someplace else. I think I made my marks. How do you secure the tubing? Do you use set screws? I know Teflon doesn't take any glue. Okay, so this is the way BJ showed me how to do it. So what you do is you take the Teflon tubing and you put some heat shrink around it, around the part, not all of it, but you can do all of it. I've done all of it. You do it where you're going to secure it, and then you heat shrink it on there, and you can then wrap that with wire, and then you cover that in. You can then cover that in like a little bit of epoxy or super glue or whatever, and it'll stick to the wire will cinch on the shrink tubing and keep it in place and keep it from rolling and pulling out, and then the little bit of epoxy, or I've used plumber's epoxy to the Propoxy over it as well, and it keeps it all secured in place, and you don't have to worry about it. So that was the way he showed me, and it seems to work. I don't think I have a mechanism here that's open. I can show you. So here's the Tilly puppet. And she has a mechanism that kind of still works. You always want to make them so you can adjust them. And I haven't adjusted this one in a while. But basically in the ears, wait. There's a very specific way you have to get into this puppet. Okay, so down here there's a little trigger that moves her ears. They used to move almost flat back, but now they just barely move. I've got to basically untie the braided string here, and then tighten it up, and then that should take care of it. Let me see if I can pull it. You can see when it actually will move. more than it does now. But anyway, I got to adjust that stuff. But you can see this is the shrink tubing over the Teflon tubing, and I think I put it's through an eye bolt here, and it looks like on this end I set it by putting a nail through it into the wood, but on the other end it's wrapped in wire and has the plumber's epoxy on it. So here's Daisy's trigger. Daisy's trigger, and that's how that one works. And it looks like there's a couple of nails through it as well, but the shrink tubing actually goes down to secure it. And then this is what the mechanism does. So anyway. I hope that's helpful. Going through personas like they're going out of style. I'm going on complete faith that this is going to work. Although I have made ears for this puppet, 5 times now? Never twice the same way. I'm probably going to trim them before I get too far on this, though. Maybe not. That's it's a piece of foam. I think it's a piece of L200 that I covered in a thin layer of Propoxy, and then sanded, and then I used the stuff called red glazing putty from Bondo on it and sanded it, and then wet sanded it, and then put a coat of primer on it, and then shot it with Plastidip. And I've also done it where I just use regular black spray paint. And that might be a better option because Plastidip does kind of deteriorate after a while. But I like the way it looks better. It kind of has that prefab look or professional look, I guess. It's not that heavy either. I mean, they always say how heavy. Oh, I was going to leave that long. Oh, well. Okay. This goes to here, like so. That is kind of long. It'll be okay. So go in here like so. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to whip stitch this part back on the back. And then I'm going to ladder stitch it along this way. And actually, I'm going to do it differently than I usually do because I want to make sure that there's a nice hard seam there. I'm thinking about cutting a 40 millimeter EVA foam ball in half and using that for the speed bump grip for this new. That's how Stacy Gordon does it. It works great. I want to check the way I did that. I think I pinned it wrong. I think Tilly's nose might have started out life as one of those EVA foam balls that I messed up cutting, and then I was able to kind of make work. Okay, let's see how this works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm getting hungry. I might have to take a break. Feed my face. If I do take a break, I'll either come back on and finish it up or later today, or I'll just do it offline. Oh, that's why. Oh boy. There might be no saving this piece of thread. It's good up to this point. You got caught in those clips. You got all tangled up. Okay. So since I don't need this one to lie flat, I'm just going to do a regular whip stitch here. It's going to be tucked up and glued under the edge of that ear. In fact, I think it being flat might make it harder to do it. So we'll see though. I'll test this before I do the second one. Let me see what I use. So this is the stuff I usually use, and it doesn't have a label, of course. And then this is Decron, and it's 80 pound. But for the most part, I use this stuff. It seems to be the closest to what BJ gave me. And then I use this. This is pretty useful because you can use regular fishing line to feed it through the tube. Just tie it to the end and pull it through because it's nice and rigid. So if you have a problem with that, that's sometimes how I do it. But yeah. I think that other one that didn't have a label was 100 pound or 150 pound weight. I think the Decron one I got, or one of the two I got at Walmart. So there are one or two puppet making supplies you can get locally. It's whatever works, Works great. Doesn't work, find something else. A puppeteer once told me that the best mechs in the world only move about an inch, or the item about an inch, because that's about as much play as you have in your finger, like the internal mechs. That's about how much movement you have out of your finger. So you got to figure out how to do the best amount of movement with the least amount of slop, so that you can get the expression you want out of that little bit of movement. But it does help. I mean, sometimes they're worth the time. The biggest thing I don't like about mechs is, especially if you have inexperienced puppeteers, they're usually broken before the first shot is done, because they play with it so much that it ends up breaking. So if you're doing like a rental puppet for Avenue Q, don't put a mech in it. Also, you get this thing where, because they're so happy they have a mech, every word they move those eyebrows up and down or whatever. I mean, if you think about how many times Gonzo uses his eyebrows, he doesn't use them very often, but they're good to have when he does need them. Ugly stitch. I think I'll probably shave this down to about an inch long, this fur. I mean, the whole reason he has long fur at all is so that he can get those cheeks the way I want them. Everywhere else, he's going to be shaved, basically. I'm just going to take it to there. So I'm going to cut that off. Okay, moment of truth. That's pretty good, actually. This is this ear. So most of it fits. Okay. So you can see how much further is here. It's like Spock. So I'll definitely trim this down before I put this on. But I haven't decided yet if I want to trim it before I stitch it. I think I will. Just in case I mess it up. It'll make it easier to glue and also to stitch, so might as well. At least that's my thinking. I guess I don't need the guard. Okay. There goes nothing. I'll also trim it with scissors a little bit. All right. Jim Cooper was once joked about going to your local custom puppet building store aisle at Walmart. That's true. We always joked that people who called at the last minute who wanted puppets were like, "Oh, just go to the shelf and get the piece of the puppet that you need." All right, so I trimmed that ear, which I think is going to look pretty good once it's all glued down and trimmed completely. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Okay, I'm going to glue it down. Shot rings out. Hope this works. I think it worked. I'm going to ladder stitch up that, and then this ear will be done, well, except for the trimming. A very little bit of trimming that still needs to be done. Okay. I think I'm going to use peach thread. Oh. The reason I'm using peach as opposed to, or pink, instead of using the brown like I did on the other one is because if you're going to see the stitch, it'll be on that antron, or that fleece, and it'll be less noticeable if I use the peach as opposed to using the brown, because the fur will kind of cover it up. I say confidently. I'm pretty pleased with these ears so far. I mean, it's been a long time coming, but they look halfway decent. Oops. Maybe I'll show you what I'm working on. It's so kind of interesting. A character I more or less designed when I was 11 years old is kind of becoming real right now. I mean, I've done I've done puppets of him before, but this one's kind of the one that's the most on model of any of the ones I've done of this character. Now, if I put a wire in here like I had intended, which I probably should still, but I'm not going to, it's too late now. It would be super easy to attach because I could just jam that wire in there and then sew it up. But we'll see. We'll see how I figure this out. I may end up having to break this open and put the wire in. The Foss shape should keep it pretty much in shape. Tell you what, because I knew this, I was going to take that much hair off. It was a good call to shave it before I started sewing it because it's a lot easier to not get tangled up in the fur. It's not quite as long. It also has the effect of taking out most of the loose fibers. I say as I get a bunch of loose fibers stuck in this thing. Okay, there's that. All right. Okay. Ouch. There's going to be some placement, not issues, but research and development going on here for a little bit of it. I may also put brain in him at some point pretty soon. You can see how that one ear is going to look. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm going to finish the other one offline and then probably not come back on till Monday. But on Monday, I should be able to put the eyebrows and the nose on and the front teeth. So his head will be done on Monday, I think. So if I don't get completely inspired and finish him up tonight. But I want to do as much of this on camera as I can. You can see how much smaller his original ear was. But not really that much. But it does have a different shape. But definitely does look like the ones I draw in the cartoon. See if I can get him in the same basic pose. Come on. I just found that thread I was missing. There you go. Oh, I got to put the bags on his eyes too at some point. But all right. Okay, I will see you guys on Monday, and have a good weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye.